Thanks for joining us today. My name is David Poole. I'm the Chief Business Officer with Solace Lifesciences. Joining me today are Erica Robinson, who's our Director of Research and runs Point on the Mastermind Project, and Amy Song, who's our Director of Marketing. And we may have Alan or somebody else. Alan Muliger, he's Director of Sales. Look at him, he's the Willie Loman. Look at him, he's got NuCalm system in his trunk and he's hitting the road. I see brother Steve Olson on line too. Hey Steve, how you doing? Nice to see you. So what is this about? We started the Mastermind Project almost a year ago. It was the genesis as my twin brother Jim, who's the CEO of the company. We talk 30 times a day. We never talked that much before we started working together, so it's been a nice blessing in that regard. But as many of you know on this call, we used to be a class 3 medical device. And insofar as we were working with clinicians and clinical environments, and it was very much a profit center for them, our pricing structure was built for a couple of reasons. One, around regulatory, which can be expensive, FDA. Anytime you deal with the FDA, it's not cheap. And then the fact that it was a fee-for-service product line and service line. So it made justifying the cost very easy. And when you build a business model, especially with a product that's a bit of, I would call it a category creator. It didn't fit into the sedation milieu. It didn't fit into the hypnosis and meditation milieu. And it's kind of a hybrid of both. So you start by trying to see what people pay, essentially. Then you build your models from there. Well, in 2015, Tony Robbins became the first consumer to purchase NuCalm. And there was nothing significant about that at the time. We didn't even know it was Tony. It was his doctor, Michael Gallitzer, who was treating Tony for adrenal fatigue. And he called us up and said, hey, I've got one of my patients here who's he's really suffering. He's not going to do well the next 6 to 9 months if we don't get his adrenals back online. Can I prescribe NuCalm? Will you sell it to a consumer, sell it to our patient? At the time it was actually $8,000. Yeah, it's pretty expensive. So money's not an issue, but his health is, and he'll use it. And then Tony bought 8 more systems over the next 3 or 4 months. He's obsessive compulsive. He has 4 homes and a jet, and you need to have systems with him all the time. We love those kind of clients, right? One person buying 9 systems is good business for us. What happened from there was really interesting and not predictable. Tony started having unbelievable results. People who use NuCalm to solve, high unmet need on anxiety, stress, sleep, TBI. Folks who work with the military, they've tried everything, and to moderate success or no success, and NuCalm becomes a bit of a game changer and a habit. People are going to talk about it. It's just a natural phenomenon and share. And Tony started doing that. So he was doing his lectures around the world. And he would say, hey, I want to turn you on to a technology that saved my life. It's a very expensive investment, but if you got these kinds of problems you're trying to solve, I highly recommend you use it. So we started getting phone calls, emails from consumers, not in our business model at all. People we didn't know if we could help them or not. A lot of times I'd say, hey, let me start with the price. Tony's got resources you may or may not have. It's $8,000, and the cost of goods, and Steve knows this. Look at the cost of goods, like $8,000. What am I paying for? It's a pair of headphones and a stim device and a cheesy bag, right? We weren't into refinement in the product offering then. We were into really the outcome. That's all we've ever invested in terms of our time, resources, energy, is how do we build an efficient capability of controlling the mind, of being able to disable that sympathetic tone, induce parasympathetic nervous system dominance, and help people in need, especially those with acute PTSD and trauma. So most of those folks would hang up right away, which was good for me because I was like, I don't have time to tell you the whole story and then say, hey, I can't afford it, sorry. But it got us thinking about, geez, maybe we won't just help clinicians. Maybe this won't be just a gadget in a clinical environment to help with a day surgery, something like that. And we started moving quite a few units. We had to reconcile our pricing structure. And then it got to a point 2 years later where 50% of our business was consumers. Now we're helping the 1%. Shame on us, right? But business is business, and they have stress too. And you'd be surprised how cheap rich people are. They're the hardest people to serve. They're entitled. They need to beat you at everything you do. Pricing, I mean, it was like, wow, this is this is not a great market for us, but we appreciate the opportunity. So let me just fast forward to, we had those transitions. The market tells you what you're going to do if you listen, and we always respond to that. And Dr. Holloway, who invented NuCalm, many of you know of him, some of you have met him. He's obsessed with efficiencies, and he's a naturopathic doctor, a part of some of the other things he's really good at. But one of the things he always cared about was efficiencies. And we originally came to market with a chewable supplement. Then we moved to a topical transdermal cream, which was more effective, easier to use on clients. And everything we do is research-based. What we found with the chewable supplements, unbeknownst to us, was that when you ask a subject to chew 3 large horse pills, essentially, and store it in their mouth for up to 3 minutes without swallowing, guess what? That triggers a stress response, because your natural phenomenon, the natural activity is, hey, I got something in my mouth, my saliva is activated, it's full, it's time to swallow. So you say, hey, no, don't swallow, don't swallow. It was putting people in the wrong direction, right? It was spiking their sympathetic tone before we would drive it down. So like, that's an inefficiency. So we came up with a topical cream, which took us 3.5 years to develop, test, to bring to market. And then we met with Nassim Haramein, who's arguably one of the top physicists in the world. He's sure to be a Nobel laureate, interesting guy, real rebellious, but unbelievable talent. And he approached us because he was really liking NuCalm about sonifying the delivery of the information to the brain through auditory channels. This is the kind of meeting that I was in with Dr. Holloway and Brother Jim for about 6 hours. And I can tell you, the only thing I understood was, do you guys want lunch? Because I'm not a quantum physicist. The brain power in that room was unbelievable and interesting. But at the end of that meeting, Dr. Holloway said, yeah, I understand what Nassim's saying, and the capabilities are there, but it's such a nascent technology. I don't want to put a lot of resources into it to find out it doesn't work or we can't do it. He said, let me try and do something else. And as Steve knows, Dr. Holloway, he's a really interesting abstract thinker, and do something else. He goes away for 3 or 4 years, not from us physically, but on this project. And about 3 years ago, Jim gets something in the mail, and it's these stickers, these dots that you guys are using now. And you think, hey, this has been the tech the whole time, 20 years into this. We had no idea what it was. And Dr. Holloway called Jim and said, hey, did you get the envelope I sent? He's like, yeah, what is it? He's like, I want you to put on your left wrist. I don't want you to use the stim and the cream, and I want you to do NuComb and report back to me. And it was one of those holy shit moments. And he called Blake and said, well, what is this? He's like, this is what I've been working on. So instead of working with the sonification, I've got a non-drug delivery system of all the information, all the biological information your brain needs to upregulate GABA production, slow down the overfiring of neurons at the midbrain, and start the relaxation process. We no longer need the stim and the cream or the chewable supplements. Not really believable, very abstract, hard to think about. It's been 2 or 3 years for us, and I still have trouble understanding the actual delivery mechanism. However, what do we do next? We bring this to Dr. C.K. Peng at Harvard Medical School, who's the head of nonlinear dynamic medicine, and say, guess what we've got? Test this and prove to us this doesn't work, because it's nonsense. We don't believe it. We don't know how it works. It's not tangible for us. And they go about their testing, and lo and behold, it works equally or better in every instance. It never failed to deliver. So what have we got there? We've got a better system. We've got more efficiencies. We've got easy to use. What Blake didn't know, or Dr. Holloway didn't know and wasn't prepared for, it changed our business entirely, because the only thing that kept us tethered to the FDA was the cranial electrotherapy stimulation device, which we were only using as a catalyst to stretch the ligand gate in the cells, help with the absorption of the GABA that was in the topical cream or chewable supplement, and begin the relaxation process. And boom, changes our life, changes our business, changes the ease of use. We can talk to Steve or Olson and Steve Reese and talk about what the difference is for them personally with their user experiences. But the bottom line is, now we've got a product we can sell to human beings. We can sell it at a cost price that's not laughable. It passes laugh tests with everybody, and we can improve the adoption. Now, that's a great problem to have. And we're sitting there thinking about it, and we have to develop a whole new, essentially a whole new business, which takes money and time. We were profitable for several years, and we reinvested everything we had in the last 18 months. But 18 months ago, I said, okay, we're going to lose the intimacy, the relationship, the quid pro quo, the riding shotgun with our partners, with Tony Robbins, with Steve Olson, with Steve Reese, on how this works, how to make it better. When you go mass market, you lose that connection with your population. It's not scalable. So I came back to the team several months later with Erica's help and said, hey, let's come up with a mastermind project that will be a quid pro quo. We'll give them a significant discount. At the time, it was a $2,600 discount, 60%. Really easy to sell somebody. Hey, you can change your life for $5,000, or you can spend half that and help us build a better product that serves you. And that was the impetus. That was the reason we were doing it. We want feedback. We want to build products that people are going to use to solve real problems. I don't ever want to sit in a boardroom with a bunch of stuffed shirts coming up with ideas that we think are going to sell, that we think are going to help. That's a fool's errand. So that was the genesis. Building the project wasn't easy. It was pretty much man-made. We're doing it in parallel with doing everything else and changing the business. And we've come to find, and we didn't advertise this. Most of you never heard about Mastermind because we never advertised it once. We did do a promo with Ben Greenfield on a podcast, which brought in a lot of biohackers and young millennials with, good problems to solve. Not stage 4 cancer, not professional athlete or race car driver, that kind of thing. And we started building the products around this, and it became a really interesting, healthy, delicious experience for us, because now we're connecting with people. These are people who want help. So what we're looking for with mastermind subjects, we have a screening tool. I used to interview the people who want to do it because I don't want losers on our team. No offense. People have, their own sensibilities, but I want people who believe that they're not limited by their DNA or their epigenetics. They can make changes. They are in control. They can participate in change. They're not happy with the status quo. We need that intensity. We need that inspiration. We need the thought partners like Steve Olson. He's come up with 1,000 crazy ideas, not crazy, to advance the technology. That's what we're looking for. It's very much a partnership. And we want to give, we want to serve. There's a lot of people we have access to. There's a lot of talent in our medical advisory board. And these folks are best in class, soaring with eagles type of thing, but they want to help too. So what we have now, after a year of doing this and about 1,100 subjects in the program, we've got a program where we're very interested in bringing out, obviously, the NuCalm tech. The NuCalm tech for us is 20 years old. There's no novelty there. How do you take something from 95% efficiency to 96? Yawn, who cares? We're good enough there. Now we've got 3 or 4 other technologies we built. I think Steve Reese knows about the sleep tech we built 9 years ago. Never launched it, never tested it, have just been sitting on it. So for the mastermind group, for us, we're looking for people that are going to help us with evaluating our Ignite technology. Some of you may or may not have heard about that. That is gamma brainwave dominance. It's literally on the opposite end of the spectrum of state, if you will. So if the Newcomb rescue tracks take you down to 5.5 and really harness and hold you, suspend you in that theta brainwave dominance, gamma is 40 hertz. Completely different, but that's high intensity, mistake-free focus. And we're doing it all with physics. We're building a disc to give you the nutrients your brain needs, vitamin B12, the stimulation effect organically. That's the thing that's most important to us, is do no harm. Let's mimic the biological functions we all have as human beings the best way we can using chemistry and physics. So we've got Ignite. We've had Ignite. I was just looking at our records and our IP portfolio for 5.5 years. Shame on us. We move really slow. We're not risk takers in that regard at all. And we don't need to be. But we want to find out from civilians, from not a Tony Robbins and not an Air Force pilot and not a professional hockey player, how would you use this? What's the best time to do it? What's the best recipe for you? What's the best algorithm? How do we collect data from you that helps you build a system that's for Diane, for Dan, for Preston? Those things are really important. So we've got that. We've got a sleep capability that drives you down to 0.5 hertz. 0.0 is your heart's not working. It's badass. It's one of those things where every time we get it to notes, you're like, what did you do to me? I haven't slept like that in 15 years. And then we've got something for mental focus, which is 18 hertz, which is right in that mid to high beta where your intellect is peaked. It's not caffeine driven. It's not narcotic driven. And it's all with physics. So we've got a bounty of really cool tech. let me explain to you where we're going with this platform. So we've got a platform technology with the neuroacoustic software, which is something Dr. Holly worked on for 20 plus years and still fine tunes. We've got this non-drug delivery system with the discs. Another time, and when you get involved in the mastermind, we share all of kind of our intimacy and secrets and formulas, because we want to know what can we do with these things. But we want to build a platform that is literally about you governing your state, and not in a way I've got to do jumping jacks to feel good. I got to go to the gym and do yoga. You can literally do an intake using a voice rec tool that we'll talk about in a moment called Canary Speech. And you can start to train a platform that says, hey, Diane says, I'm really smart, really capable, really confident in my intellect when I'm at 19 hertz. I don't need to be there all the time. That would be exhausting. So when I need to be there before an event, I will do the intake, and you will program using AI and machine learning an intervention that brings you to 19 hertz organically. And then when you want to wind down and say, hey, it's time for me to, you know, glass of wine effect and relax and think about what happened today and what I'm going to do tomorrow, I want to be at 12 hertz. So that's not pie in the sky. It's all about collecting data, collecting information from you folks, and how do we get there? And the nice part about this, it's a holistic approach to energy. So it's not the Starbucks model and the Ambien model, which we all know is not healthy. So we work with the military, work with extreme profiles, because you learn the most from extremes. But we want to learn from you. We want to know from John and Jane Doe, what are the best ways to solve your problems? How do you get, connect with your kids and your grandkids? How do you get to connect with your peers and your spouse after 50 years of grinding it out and putting up with each other? How do you make that connection about joy and love and respect? Well, guess what? When you can control your emotional state and you can give yourself that capability, and it's not narcotic, it's not dependent on anything else. And NuCalm isn't a substitute for meditation and control and talk therapy and connection and words and those kinds of, not at all. It's just a supplement that gives you that little bit of an unfair advantage so you can be your best you. So the Mastermind project for us has been extremely bountiful. It's been extremely interesting. We feature special guests every couple of weeks, and their Thursday night calls last night. And it's always a surprise. And it's not about NuCalm. It's not a selling tool. People already bought NuCalm. It's about, hey, tell us about your life journey. Tell about the problems you have. Tell me about the vulnerabilities you have. Tell me about the curiosity you have. Tell me how you're going to get to a place in your life where you can accept yourself and respect yourself and behave the right way and be a great dad. So it's been really fun, really intimate. Last time we featured a retired Green Beret Special Forces who was demolitions and a soldier. And his story was really intense, but his journey post, when he left the service after 3 tours in very deadly environments. He said, if you knew the place I've been, there was a lot of death. It was really intense, and bullets fly all the time, and you got to do your job. And he spent the last 11 years just diving into books and metaphysics and how do I do this? And it's really interesting. Now he's helping someone in a charity called Mission 22. That's the kind of stuff we like to do. We like to share different personalities and build a community. We can only be great if we combine forces. And we're never going to be a place where we tell you what to do. That's not our mandate. As a matter of fact, we've been guilty of not telling you what to do. So people don't know how to use our tech. They're like, I don't know what the hell to do with this. And we're like, yeah, it's really abstract and it's crazy, but fit it into your schedule. Here's where it's valuable. So I would like Erica to take over for a moment, talk a little bit about Canary Speech, because this is something we're delivering next week, Wednesday at Quantico. We're delivering this to the new cadets for the FBI and to the new hostage rescue players. There's about 70 seasoned, salty special forces operators who make up the hostage rescue team. So when bad guys take us, good guys, and these guys drop their day job and they get on helicopters and they go do the right thing and rescue people and punish bad people. It's a really outrageous job. It's like, we have people like that? I didn't even know that. And they're superheroes. So we're going to be there for an entire day. And what they're most curious about, they've been using NuCalm and Ignite for 3 years. They dig that, is the Canary Speech, a voice rec intake that can tell you your stress and rest score with 91% accuracy. And it takes 40 seconds to do the voice rec and 3 seconds to return a score. So I'd like Erica to just walk through a little bit of the fundamentals of the program and the project so you guys understand. There is a quid pro quo. It is somewhat immersive, and the findings we've seen with Mastermind, and then we'll open up for questions.
Thank you very much, David. I just wanted to say a warm welcome to everyone who could join us today. This is very exciting to share kind of everything we've been doing over the last nearly year. And the Mastermind project has really gained traction in the last probably 6 months or so, or from the summer onward. So Canary Speech, we can start there. That's one of the requirements that we ask of you as a Mastermind participant. Canary Speech was engineered by some of the main engineers who worked on the Alexa and who worked for some of the NASA and Homeland Security voice recognition tools. So it's a fantastic product. And what we're doing is we're measuring your stress just through your voice. So in 1 minute of speech data, there's about 15 million data points. And so there's a lot of biomarkers in there that we can actually detect how stressed you are. So I'll share my screen right now, and I'll be able to show you kind of a couple screenshots of the Canary Speech app. But as David said, this is going to be coming on our website soon, and everyone's going to be able to, test it out. And then we'll walk through a little bit of the other Mastermind requirements, and then I'll share some of the data that we've actually collected from this Mastermind project that has been going on for nearly a year. So give me a second here. And for everyone who is on a phone, don't worry, you will be able to review everything afterwards, and I'll share this recording with you. So Canary Speech, it is an app that you download, and you take a baseline intake. So that looks at your stress, anxiety scale. There is some subjective questionnaires. It also looks at your sleep quality over the last month with the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index scale. And then it gets you to do a lot of kind of voice exercises. And then you will be getting a score. So that score is out of 100. It tells you how stressed you are. So the baseline intake is really important. So as we're building this model, they have a lot more data to go off of, not just your voice data, but your subjective data as well. So it does take about 10 to 15 minutes. I timed it. It only took me 7 minutes. It took David 15 minutes to do. So I guess that depends how much you like to talk. But once you do that, but once you do that, you can go and in here, you can see this is kind of the Newcomb baseline, Newcomb pre-assessment and post-assessment. We really encourage Mastermind participants to start measuring their stress before Newcomb and after Newcomb. And you can really see the difference of just what one Newcomb session will do. So those pre and post assessments, they won't take 10 minutes. As David said, I think it's within only 40 seconds that we can actually capture your stress through your voice. So it's about 1 to 2 minutes, once you enter in everything you need. And once you complete about 20 of these, or 10 pre and 10 post, then we can actually give your stress scores back to you. So you'll email us and we can give you your trending analysis. And as we build out this landing page for Canary Speech, we're going to be able to give you kind of monthly reports, and you're really going to be able to see how you're progressing. And this is a really interesting tool, and they've actually measured it with meditation as well. And while meditation is a fantastic practice and definitely, not something you want to throw aside, NuCalm was much more effective at reducing stress. So I'll show you some of those data points afterwards. But this here is our what I call our Mastermind Portal. It's a simple note-taking tool, but it has everything you need to really be successful in the program. So Canary Speech is one element that we ask you to do. The other one is a survey, or a bunch of surveys. So we send them out usually 1 a week. And this is where we're asking your feedback. And through this, our Mastermind participants have really helped us shape the NuCalm product, shape the app where it is today and where it will go. So we ask you things, and also your journey. So we want to know, how was the onboarding? How was your first month? How was your second month? So throughout the 12-week program, or the 90 days, there's a survey a week, and they take about 2 to 3 minutes to do. You can have them all here. And I'll be able to share some of the results from those as well. And then the last part, so David said, as this Mastermind group, you get access to things before everyone else does. You're this part of this exclusive community. And so one of those things will be Ignite. And so there's just a little information box down here, but Ignite is our app for peak performance, focus, and energy. Instead of slowing your brain waves down, it's going to speed it up into gamma, which is associated with all those things. So we do encourage Mastermind participants, as any NuCalm user, to really start to develop a NuCalm habit first, and then we're going to give you access to it. Ignite unlike NuComb, can be overused and abused. I kind of always explain it to everyone. I mean, you can't, run at 110 miles per hour if you don't have the resources to sustain you there. So NuComb helps reset you, rebuild those resources, and then Ignite will allow you to operate at that high intensity level. And any mastermind can get access to this just by sending us an email. And then, as David said, the last part of it is also the education part, is the master series. And this has been very exciting to build out, and very exciting to talk with all of our guest speakers. We've got a huge catalog now because we've been doing this for nearly a year. So as a mastermind participant, you can access kind of our full catalog, and then all of the live calls, which we host. And the live calls are really unique because you actually get to interact with some of these experts in their industry and ask those questions that might relate to you, which is something that you don't always get to do. I mean, often you want to go sit, we have a call with Julie Burns here, who's the head nutritionist for the Chicago Blackhawks. And I mean, she's probably not somebody you can really get a one-on-one with if you didn't book an appointment, or I don't even know if she's probably taking any new patients. So here on these calls, you can ask those quick questions, and you'll get access to all of these here. They're all in a video format or either kind of a downloadable podcast format. So that's pretty much the overview of the Mastermind program. Now I wanted to share a little bit about what we've been seeing. So there's 3 kind of main findings. Let me just present this here that I would really like to share. So one, while we haven't fully been able to compare, NuCalm usage of the average subscriber, because we only released that about a few months ago, but we really wanted to showcase that our mastermind participants are having tremendous success at using NuCalm and developing a habit out of it. At the end of the 3 months, 99% of participants said that they would continue to use NuCalm regularly. So this isn't something that they put in this huge investment and they're just throwing it to the wayside. These participants are using it. And I really think that's because our program gives you the tools to really build that habit. Here you can see kind of the breakdown of how often people are using it. So 70% of participants are using it at least 4 times a week. That's tremendous to see that. I mean, I don't even use it 4 times a week as much as I would like to. But then you see 95% of participants are doing it at 2 or more times a week, which is what we want to see. And it's really, consistency is key. The more that you use NuCalm, the better you're going to feel, and the more noticeable those benefits are going to be. So that brings me into this kind of other slide. I know it's very crowded, but we measured a lot of things just subjectively. We looked at stress, we looked at relief, we looked at the feeling of restfulness, we looked at emotional balance, focus, and sleep. And you can see across the 3 months, everyone is noticing benefits. So there's that upward kind of trend. One of the feelings of relief was the most noted improvement with NuCalm. Then improvements of stress, emotional balance, and restfulness were kind of those 2nd to 4th most noted improvements. You can see that there's a positive kind of correlation between these improvements and the time that you're using it. So NuCalm isn't a magic bullet. You can't use it once and hope to see tremendous difference in your sleep and your stress and your feeling of relief, restfulness, that kind of thing. But if you're using it consistently over time, that's when you're going to see the benefits. And so the fact that we're really encouraging you over this 90 days to use NuCalm, that's where you see at the end of the 90 days, you're noticing much more improvements. And then the other thing we saw is that, of course, the more that you're using NuCalm, the more benefits you're going to see. So those people who can do 4 or more sessions a week, they're going to see more improvements in their emotional balance and their focus and all of that. And I think that's something that we can help you do through this program. This is an example of a Canary Speech stress report that you're probably going to get once you send us an email. So this is one of our mastermind participants. Obviously, I've taken away their information here, but this shows their pre to post NuCalm score. So the blue is kind of your how stressed you were pre-NuCalm, and the green is your post-NuCalm. And this yellow line here is their baseline. So this is where they started at. So you can see, while they still do have some probably pretty high stress levels to start, stress is transient. It totally depends on what's going on in the person's life. But NuCalm is very effective at reducing that stress every single time. And this isn't the only person we've seen this with. If we looked at the kind of the average across all participants, that's what we noticed. And this is what it says here. So Canary Speech, actually, we're building a white paper with them. And they said that they measured this in about 715 participants, and said the average decrease was 13 from pre to post NuCalm. So there's always that decrease. And then for comparison, as I said, meditation is still very effective and important, but the change that they noticed from pre to post kind of affirmation-based meditation was only 6.1. So it's nearly double as effective with NuCalm. The other thing that I really wanted to say with using Mastermind is there's this huge educational benefit. So we have these calls, and we're really trying to help you build a lifestyle around NuCalm. We're trying to change your habit, whether it was bad, whether you went to alcohol before, or whether you just didn't do anything to manage your stress. And to really change a habit or create a lifestyle, you need to have the strategy, which is NuCalm, but you also want to have that education to understand, why is this important that I do this? And when you understand the why and you understand the how, that's where you're really going to be able to kind of adopt that lifestyle with NuCalm and managing stress and improving sleep. So here's some of the information that we got from our Mastermind participants. About 82% felt that the Mastermind project helped them understand the value of continuous NuCalm use. And nearly 80% felt that the information provided in the Mastermind project helped them build a lifestyle with NuCalm that they couldn't have done on their own. So this is this kind of encouragement, and we're holding you accountable, and we're getting you to do these surveys and this Canary Speech and getting you to participate on these calls. That's where you're really going to, have that help you need to really build the lifestyle. Nearly 80% said that they value stress management more since starting the program, and about 72% value the importance of quality sleep more since starting Mastermind. And both of those things are just phenomenal, because like I said, it's not just NuCalm, it's changing your whole lifestyle. It's trying to help you lead a better and healthier life. And I think, and then the other thing, so this is just some of the favorite topics that we covered. So NuCalm, science, sleep, and stress, of course, were the favorite topics of discussion. But there were many people that liked all of the recordings and really didn't have a favorite. So that's everything I wanted to share with you today. And I think we can open it up for questions now. I'm very excited I got to share that data, because I love research, and as I'm our director of research, and I feel like these don't get used enough. So I'm happy to have shared them with you, and happy to open up to questions. I'll moderate. Please post any of your questions in the chat, and we'll ask them to David and myself. Or if you want to come, actually, we've got quite a bit of participants, so I won't just say it's a free-for-all and come off mute, but please post them in the chat. David, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, and there's a good question here from Jane. So there are multiple references to 90 days in your presentation. What happens after that? Poof, your brain explodes. You've achieved nirvana. Congratulations.
So that's once we, for the 90 days is where we're really on your case, and you're part of this program, and we're giving you surveys. We're asking you to do the Canary Speech. But after that, you're in for life. So I'm still telling you when those Master Series calls are. We don't, push you to the side. I have a lot of people talk to me after the program and say, hey, can I still stay involved? Like, let me know what's going on. And you're on that email list, and you're going to be sent all of the kind of inside scoop before anybody else. Anything else?
Yeah, I would say the participation expectation after 90 days is less intense. But we, and most people don't just do 90 days and say, hey, thanks, I submitted my survey, see you later. We encourage them to get involved, because we have so many other techs to evaluate, and we need your help. This is about you. It's not about us. We already know what we think is good, but that's all we know. There's nobody, we don't cut anybody loose, and we expect, and we invite every single Mastermind participant, whether you joined, last February or you joined 2 weeks ago, to every engagement. Yeah.
I see a question from Mary Carroll, and I'm happy to answer that. Are you doing any gender-specific research on NuCalm use? In the Mastermind program, I have looked at this. So we do have a larger group of men in our program, likely because we did have that big push from the Ben Greenfield crowd. And one thing I did notice, which is kind of as I would have expected, is that women have a harder time kind of doing it as frequently, but they say that their days are just busier and they're trying, but that's something we really want to push. But I think the women have a lot more going on, and we want you to really prioritize it. And so while we're still helping you, and I think more than the average, coming in this program, you're going to develop a better habit. But we have noticed that women aren't using it as much. And I do believe that's because they might be busier and they might not be prioritizing it as much. Any other things you've noted, David?
Forgive me, I can't multitask. I was reading through the questions, but I'm sure you answered it.
Yeah, but it is interesting, and at some point, kind of when we close up the Mastermind project and we do the final analysis, we will like to share all this. David, we have a question from Sandra. Is there an age limit? I'm 65, still working, do a lot of biohacking.
Absolutely not. We serve all ages, please. We don't discriminate on age. I am massively immature. I'm probably 11 years old emotionally. So thankfully, and I still qualify. So please, 65, you're in the sweet spot of life. We'd love to help you.
Yeah. And David, I have a question from Diane. How many discs are provided monthly for the long term?
So in the Mastermind project, 100 discs come with the initial fee and structure. And then there's discounts applied to that. And as we take over the manufacturing process and ownership, we will pass on all of our economies of scale to our customer base, especially.
Yep. We have a question from Gurpreet. Is there any benefit to combining meditation with Newcomb at the same time?
Absolutely. So you're not going to be able to meditate while on Newcomb. There's some misconceptions in the marketplace that Newcomb is a replacement for meditation. It's really not. Where we find it valuable, and our whole company right now is doing a curriculum, a 26-week curriculum with Brother Craig Marshall, who is a Yogananda monk who worked with the Beatles and was with George Harrison and Steve Jobs when they passed. And he's an excellent mentor for us. And you can imagine he's done 100,000 hours of meditation. And what does he do? He uses Newcomb first. And that's how he prepares his mind. He says, so when Newcomb, it clears out all the noise. He's got a brain like everybody else's, whether he's, a better meditator or not is irrelevant. And when he gets done with Newcomb, he's got a level of confidence, clarity, and clear-headedness and calm that he can go into his meditations with a real intent and achieve almost a much more efficient meditation. Now, remember, if you're using the rescue tracks and we cycle your brainwave function down to 5.5 hertz and hold you there, and that happens at the 16-minute mark, you are cognitively dissociated. You will not be able to use a mantra. You're not going to be able to hold on to a thought. It's the twilight zone. So meditation, that whole phenomenon gets wiped out. It doesn't mean you can't begin the sessions, trying to find a still space or let time pass without judgment. But the still point is going to be very elusive with Newcomb use.
Yeah. Thanks, David. We have a question from Bobby. It seems like the point of the Mastermind is to improve Newcomb and get us to see the value of Newcomb, plus get the monthly calls and the inside scoops, but we still have to pay a monthly fee for the discs. If we already understand that Newcomb is valuable, why should we pay thousands for the Mastermind program in addition to paying a monthly fee? Could you just quickly break down what you get from paying for Mastermind?
Sure. No, thanks, Bobby. At the end of the day, it all comes down to economics. We're very aware of that. So what you get with Mastermind, which is, we didn't talk about, this isn't a sales call. This is, hey, we're showcasing who we're looking for. It's more of a recruitment for me personally, because I want the right people working with us. It's a partnership. So you get lifetime access to the software. Let me make something really clear to the people who are new to the platform. If you bought Newcomb in September of 2020, you paid $4,000 for the software. $4,000. Sounds ridiculous, I know. Again, that's where $20 million of our investment has gone into. That's the primary method of action of Newcomb, is in the software. Right now, we're giving the software away because we need to build a model. We need to refine it. I can promise you the price point of Newcomb will increase over time. There's no doubt in my mind. We've had many debates internally, but that's really important to us that we reclaim that value. But we need to get people using it, understanding it, and not comparing it to apps, meditation apps like Calm and Headspace. That's not what Newcomb is. It's not even close. That's a Ferrari versus a moped type of thing. So you get that, you get access to Ignite, you get access to Canary Speech. All these things are freebies. So when we do the math on the value proposition, which is really important for Mastermind exceeds $8,000 in value. It's for $2,000. The discs, we've got to own the manufacturing piece. Right now, we're dependent on a third party. We don't have any control over that. Once we do, we'll make this easy. We don't want Newcomb to ever be cost prohibitive. And we don't say, hey, yeah, I'll just use the software. I know it's really important. I won't use the disc. You're going to lose out two things. You're going to lose on the depth and intensity of the Newcomb experience. You're also going to lose out on the sleep benefits. That's a critical part of this. The software bringing you down to theta brainwave dominance does not enrich the neurotransmitter panels and the abundance of GABA produced in the midbrain. That's all disc related. And for us, Bobby, we're looking at the disc platform as a platform tech. So there's a lot of things we can deliver with the disc tech. It took Dr. Heller over 5 years to figure out how to build a frequency of data to deliver. Now it's a matter of, okay, what problems do we want to solve? Do we want to solve the caffeine issue and the stimulation issue, the mental focus issue, the sleep? How do we get melatonin in a non-drug delivery mechanism? So good question, Bobby. I hope I answered it. The value in the mastermind is very rich. And this isn't a money grab. If it was, we would have maintained our price of $5,000 and, you know, kept moving in that direction.
Yep. David, so going back to the cost, we have a few questions in here. Clyde is asking, what are the costs? And then if people are struggling to find the money, do we have any other kind of payment options for?
Yeah, you know, I said to every person I ever talked to, let's not let economics get in the way of a good partnership. We're not relying on Mastermind to drive our revenue and our hockey stick growth. That's not what it's about. We don't rely on our partners to do that. We rely on common sense and doing the right thing. So if we take care of people, they're going to take care of us. It's been our model for 11 years. That's why we don't market. The cost of Mastermind is $1,995 one-time fee. It gets you access to everything we've been talking about. So let me give you an example. When Ignite becomes monetized, our Mastermind people and our lifetime customers will have at least a year access. Now, many of them have had 5 years already. And they'd be willing to pay for. We survey that too, but we'll take care of it, and we care. If you say, "Hey guys, this seems really unfair," we're going to listen. Say, "Hey, yeah, we didn't think of it in that regard. Let's come back to appropriate and make sure the partnership is paramount." If this was about getting rich, I would have quit and gone back to corporate 10 years ago. Trust me.
And so, yes, those who are asking about payment plan options, we do definitely offer those. And you can get in touch with one of our sales reps. We have one on the call right now, Alan Muliger. He's fantastic, and he'll be able to walk you through that as well on a one-on-one. We had a question from David to David. Have you followed the progress on participants with concussion and TBI history? I was in a concussion research study, and I think the doctor running this study would be interested in hearing about this.
Excellent question, David. And we're very curious about concussion TBI. We understand the phenomenon of parasympathetic nervous system dominance and how important it is in the healing recovery phenomenon. We've done, probably a 6-year study with the University of Oklahoma State. Their chief medical Dr. Tom Allen was the medical director in NFL for years. Dear friends, Paul Tagliabue, we knew how that ended and not taking problem. So the findings are really profound in the accelerated recovery, but isolating different factors. There's too many confounding variables. So we continue to study, we continue to see progress. I'm not sure we'll ever be able to really make a lot of claims around that, but we're happy to talk to any doctors around this. We're always interested in more research. You know, in God we trust, everyone else bring data. So we've been slaves to research for 10 years, which is a good thing, I think.
David, I think we've got a couple of questions about joining the program from current lifetime users or legacy users. When does the program start? Are we able to bring these people into the program?
So we don't discriminate. Originally, when we first came to market with this, we didn't want lifelong customers like Steve Olson or Steve Reese, because it's hard to be objective with something you've already habituated. And so it wasn't clean data, if you will. But now that we've got kind of the new app in place, we've got this whole platform of an abundance of new tech, we're very interested in every single person who wants to help us. Let's combine forces. Everybody who's a lifetime customer, current Mastermind project participant can join us at any time. And we'd appreciate the help. And we get feedback from many of those folks unsolicited, right?
Pardon me, I missed that. Internet cut out.
I said we often get feedback from those folks unsolicited anyway.
Yeah,
which we do appreciate.
Yeah, if you are interested, send us the email at support@newcom.com. We'll be able to help you out, confirm that you're a current customer, and we'll be able to get you set up. We have a question from Jamie. Is there a recommended schedule for Newcomb Ignite when starting out? I believe is what she's asking.
Excellent. So that's one of the reasons we're here. We work with, Ignite was built for actually European Soccer League players. And I'm not a huge soccer fan, but they're great athletes. I understand that. And we moved over to the military because we want to help them as much as possible. We're working with Ken Carigliano, a few top performance folks about building a curriculum and algorithm. That's where the app and machine learning will be really important. But here's the interesting thing we did learn. So what we've done with Ignite, it's a lot more powerful and potent than you can imagine, is for 10 minutes, we cycle your brain out to using the same nonlinear oscillatory algorithms that we have for bringing your brain down. The last 3 minutes are pure gamma brainwave dominance. So in that state, it's going to trigger a dopamine release, which is a mood enhancer. It's going to galvanize and upregulate your gross motor and fine motor skills, which gives you better dexterity, better strength, better ability to handle payload, if you will. It's going to also activate your reticular activation system in your brain, which is your spider senses, without an anxious response. So it's peak performance. And we had several elite military operators who dismissed Newcomb because it's boring. You know, these guys are trained killers. They love adrenaline. It's nonstop for them. So doing Newcomb is kind of like, no thanks, don't want to do it. And they were pounding Ignite. And after about 6 months of bad behavior, their adrenals just popped. I mean, you can't just take reduce dopamine all the time and not replenish and restore. So we'll build that into the curriculum and into the app where we'll notice, hey, you haven't done Newcomb in 6-7 days. You've done Ignite 14 times. We're going to block access. This is us protecting you and saving you from yourself. So right now, I will tell you, talk to us directly. I'm happy to get Ken Carigliano on the phone. In 6 months of doing Ignite 6-7 days times a day, most people aren't going to do that. So that hasn't been a huge risk, but that happened to us about 2 years ago when we got that data. Right now, I can tell you my own version of using this. I wake up and wake and bake with Newcomb every day. My morning session's 10 to 12 minutes. It's not very long. I have good sleep, even if I sleep 3 or 4 hours. And then I, get my lemon water and get in front of my computer, and I play Ignite ambiently. And I might cycle 3 different tracks. And it's like rocket fuel. And then at night, I can give you an example. The other night, my brother, who I love, and he doesn't respect me, called me about 11:30 and said, hey, I need this tomorrow morning for a meeting. And I was like, okay, can do it. I popped on Ignite with headphones and I worked until 4:30, didn't even notice. And finally, I was like, holy smokes. Wow, Ignite really works. Now I'm going to go to bed type of thing. So it's all about you. It's all about your capabilities, what you're using this for, what you're doing. I can get a real good charge in 6-7 minutes of Ignite. I don't need the raw gamma at the end if I'm preparing for a meeting. I didn't have a chance to do Newcomb before this, but as I was setting up my computer, I was pumping Ignite because I just like that experience. But again, this is the kind of thing where we would work together and figure that out, put in the guardrail so people don't overdo it. And you get the most value out of this, and it's healthy and therapeutic, and you get the level of intensity you need when you need it.
Thanks, David. We have a question from Sandra. When will you close the window for membership?
That's a great question. We considered closing it late last year because what do we do with the mastermind people now besides keep coming up with good content? Let me explain something too. That's the content piece. That's really important to us. We all want to learn. We all want to get better. We all want to, draft off people who've done things we won't be able to do. That's why we're doing the 26-week curriculum with Brother Craig and it's Mindful You, is because we're going to offer that. He's going to be a content partner for us. And it's a fascinating learning experience. And it's fun for us because we've got, 24 people who've never met each other. A lot of us have never met each other, work together, trust each other, and it's a really cool program. So we're gonna probably extend. I think we might cap it at about 2,000 subjects, thinking that taking care of many more people beyond that can be hard. Erica's done a lot of work, so there's a lot we can kind of leverage from our current investment, but we'll see. That's TBD. We don't know yet. So it's not tomorrow, and there's no time crunch for closing the window.
Thank you. And so some people are asking, when does the program start? It's already started, and it's a kind of rolling basis. Whenever you sign up, we've got intro calls with our new groups every 2 weeks, and we'll send you all the details there. David says, appreciate the shout out because his uncle helped start FBI's hostage rescue team. That's exciting.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Yeah, I'm really excited. I love working with elite performers. It's just fun. Steve knows this. They do things. You make a suggestion, next thing you know, 2 weeks later, they've habituated it and they're better than you are at it. It's pretty amazing. It's a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
They're heroes. The stuff they do, I mean, the sacrifices they make, the risks they take on and participate in are substantial, and I very much appreciate it.
We have a question from Ella, who is a lifetime member. She says, I use it every single day for the last 2 years and I love it. Do you have any program that I can reprogram myself to convert any limiting belief into positive beliefs? So I guess any
Excellent.
would recommend to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're working on with Brother Craig. We're all victims of limiting beliefs. It's just part of what Jim calls the itty bitty shitty committee in our heads that tells us, we're not good enough and we're not going to be accepted. And it's hard. That's part of being human. And it's not a curse, it's an opportunity. So one of the things that you can do around that is have an intent for your NuCalm sessions. In the first 4 to 5 minutes, you have some control over those thoughts, especially around a limiting belief that makes you anxious and stressed and makes you feel less powerful. I would consider those. And with Ignite, that's where I really go after those things, because some of these, I don't know if people are Tony Robbins fans. We have Tony do a couple of voiceovers, which is nice to have the NLP programmed with the physics. And it just, you punch your limited beliefs in the face when you're listening to that kind of stuff. But with Brother Craig, we are working on a voiceover. It's not a meditation. It's about finding joy, finding inner peace, finding balance, understanding what your limitations are, and appreciating what you can do with those limitations. So it's getting really interesting in that regard. We were a raw physics, let's come in, bring a tank to a knife fight and win the day platform 10 years ago. Now we're becoming much more about higher consciousness, and that's a lot of it has to do with dealing with consumers and not dealing with anxious patients, in a dental chair, in a ear, nose, throat environment. Great question.
Thanks, David. We have a question from Claudia. She's saying, what's the difference between these discs and the ones that I'm currently using? Don't know when she started though. But I believe we're only offering the Pro discs right now.
Yes. Yep. So we had 2 different discs. One was first disc took us, like we talked about Dr. Holloway, almost 5 years, continuous improvement, always coming up with a new thing, a cation transfer mechanism, putting into a frequency and adding to disc. And then we thought about, well, what about a surgical environment? We need to keep someone glued in that chair and behaving well. So we added a vagal nerve governor, and that's the Pro disc. And that's one we recommend people using, because if you're going to invest 30 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour a day, or every other day, or once a week, you want to get the maximum ROI. So I think we'll eventually move just to 1 disc with that intensity.
Thanks. We have a question from Mary Carol Rose. She's asking, does it matter what headphones that you use? She purchased another set when you upgraded, but another call David recommended wireless Apple AirPods, I think.
So it's really about comfort. Premium headphones are important. I own I've got a catalog of 6 or 7 elite headphones. the reason you want comfort first and foremost. I had a great pair of headphones that really abused the crown of my head. It was almost like having a napping injury, and I'd have to put them in different positions so it was more and more comfortable. I don't love the AirPods because if I'm in for Newcomb for more than 45 minutes, your ears fatigue from being plugged up. But the headphones we ship, we've tested for spectrum. There's 780 gigabyte of information or megabyte of information in a single track. So it's a broad spectrum too. So you want the best delivery of the spectrum for the headphones if you can. But again, it's all about comfort. So you lose a little bit, right? In the outcome capability potentially. But we know this from our research that someone who's legally deaf can benefit from Newcomb because it's not about hearing, it's about delivering the frequencies to the midbrain. So whatever you're comfortable with, I appreciate the noise canceling feature when I'm in public and on planes and trains and that kind of stuff. But as long as you're wearing headphones, you're okay.
Thank you. David, we have a question from Jane. Is there anyone in the program with autism? Our brains are wired different.
Oh gosh. So our dear friend, Dr. Holloway, has autism. He's been, self-reporting on the spectrum, and we serve that population really well on a very individual basis. So contact us directly, Jane, and let's come up with a program that makes a lot of sense. It's really about control. It's about controlling the stimulation. It could be the volume of the headphones. The disc is benign. You can put that on and it'll be fine. And then light blocking capability. And let's work together on that one. Because you're right, everyone's different. Our brains are different, and they're different all the time. So we're happy to work with you, Jane.
And all right, I'm scrolling through here. Preston's just saying, he says the new iPhone AirPods Pros are working great for me, and the noise cancellation gives you a very nice quiet environment. That's awesome, Preston. I agree. Those are what I use too. Teresa is asking, saying, I'm new to this, and I noticed in 2 sessions in the past 2 days, and I love how I feel during the day, but I found it's keeping me awake at night. I love the day feeling. Am I doing something wrong?
No, so Teresa, that's really interesting. Your circadian rhythm, your brain loves patterns. It's extremely sticky and very stubborn. It doesn't want change. It really doesn't. It doesn't accept change really easily. That's how you have jet lag. So you can either get used to having an abundance of energy, or I would suggest you do Newcomb earlier in the day, if it's possible, maybe right when you wake up. That energy boost, that feeling of balance and control and being able to prioritize appropriately and not being overwhelmed, that's a blessing. You don't want to give that up. And you'll notice too, we might rob an hour on the nighttime side, but if you wake up feeling rested and you're dreaming well, which you should find to be one of the quiet virtues of habitual Newcomb use, then you're doing okay. You might not need the sleep you think you need. And I'm not suggesting give up sleep and do more Newcomb at all. This is very much a supplement, but work with the time of day phenomenon. I can tell you that, yes, if I do Newcomb at 7, 8 at night, I'm up till 4 in the morning, and it's sometimes I use Newcomb to get me back to sleep. It will bring you back into the staging area. But you have to be really disciplined about that. No TV, no phone, no blue light stimulation, and do all your grooming, and there's ways to do that. But it sounds to me like you're doing fine. We don't recommend going to sleep with Newcomb unless you've got a long-term chronic sleep issue.
Yeah, she says, I did it right when I woke up yesterday.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
So her complaint is that she has more energy and is as tired. I think that's a good thing, Teresa. I apologize for you've got an extra hour then. Maybe I'll recommend a couple of books.
Yeah, and again, just being consistent. Your sleep cycle will work around it, and maybe you'll find you're sleeping less than normal. But keep it up. It's just kind of early days too. We have a question from Ella. She's saying, can I use the Ignite app with the same discs for relaxation?
No. Ignite is the antithesis. Now, your brain knows what it needs when it needs it. And it will take the frequencies, it'll leach the frequencies from the disc when you feel out of balance. Your brain, two things. It wants, number one, to keep you alive. So your fight or flight phenomenon, staying awake and alert and making sure you're safe in your environment is the number one priority. Number two priority is homeostasis. So if you're in a place where you're overwhelmed with stress, you're time pressured, you're starting to become out of balance, your brain will say, hey, I've got something here that can help me. And it will literally release those frequencies and start using them and maintain that balance. You don't need that for Ignite. It's not going to be counterproductive because your brain is wired for intensity, certainly. And we're going to bring you up there. So I've never done it, I mean, deliberately. Sometimes I forget I have the discs on. Oftentimes I forget. And I go through life with them on, with Ignite, and all those kinds of things, and I haven't noticed anything. But that's something we can certainly try and test. We're building an Ignite disc. We always want to have a complementary ability to deliver information to the brain to help with essentially nutrients, right? Most of our food sources are not rich in the macronutrients we need, especially in the neurotransmitter environment for creating those. So stay tuned on that. These are long epics for us.
Yep. David, just to reiterate, I think we've got Benjamin is, maybe he joined in a little bit late. He's asking, what is Ignite? He has the 3-day challenge, recharge, reboot, rescue, but he doesn't see Ignite.
Ignite is a different app entirely, Benjamin. It's not related to NuCalm at all. We use the same fundamental physics concepts to bring your brain into gamma brainwave dominance, which is peak performance, if you will. Think of it as non-distracted intensity. And it's all organic. It's not released. It's only available through the Mastermind project and for lifetime customers. I think right now we have 1,195 folks on the platform. We have to, take an NDA from anybody who uses it. So that's how we're aware of that. But ultimately, we will release that publicly. It's been available for 5 years. We just haven't productized it.
Thank you. We have a question from Preston. He says, I'm noticing lately that when I use Newcomb recharge or reboot in the morning, but particularly recharge, he has the monkey mind, can't shut out the thoughts, and he's not dropping in as the way he should. Or it seems like he's not dropping.
Excellent, Preston. So Preston, you're living my life right now. So I started using NuCalm 11 years ago. And back then we had one track. It was and Steve Olson was with us then too. It was a different algorithm, and it was a 14-minute loop where we would cycle you down from 12 hertz all the way down to 4 hertz, right at the floor of theta and kissing the delta brainwave function, and then bring you back up. So if you didn't come alert and do something every 14 minutes, you were going back down. There was nothing you could do about it. My morning sessions are the same thing. The other night, like I told you, Jim asked for something, I need to get it done. I got less than 4 hours of sleep. Needed 5 or 6 would have been nice. Did NuCalm, and guess what? It was the same number it always is. So it was 13 minutes, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I drop out for what seems to be about 30 seconds. My afternoon sessions are much more indulging and much more interesting because I'm stressed. It's all about your level of stress. It's a direct relationship, and poof, I go off, and it's much more interesting for me. I love those sessions. They're really important to me. So what I would suggest, if you want that drop, do the rescue tracks in the morning. That's the 5.5 hertz. So recharge is literally built for a quick pick-me-up when you don't have the time. You don't need the intense recovery. I've only used it, confessing this publicly, maybe 3 times in 4 years. That's not, if I'm going to do NuCalm, I'm going to do NuCalm. So to me, it's a cheap facsimile of what I get from rescue and reboot. Reboot, you spend a lot more time in alpha than you do in theta. That's built for really creativity and for balance and homeostasis. Rescue is, I need help and I need it right now, and fix me, kick off all of my maintenance functions, rebuild me, Steve Austin type of thing in the next 30 minutes. So try that, or give up the mornings. I do the mornings as I get really angry, irritable, and I'm not a very nice guy if I know I'm going to miss a NuCalm session during the day. And I stress about it. When I think of the things that are non-negotiable right in the morning is when a NuCalm, I look at my schedule like, holy crap, who thought that was a good idea? I don't see a window for NuCalm. So I just get it out of the way because I want to make sure I'm taking care of myself. But again, my morning sessions are, to me, undesirable. My afternoon sessions, evening sessions are amazing.
Yeah. He says, I do it in the morning sessions and when I can't stay asleep and I feel like I need some more, we'll try rescue. And he does great in the afternoon. That's awesome. We've got one final question from Ella. She's saying, sometimes I like to use Newcomb to go to sleep. What would be the best program for that? Is it reboot or rescue?
Rescues, absolutely. So that's going to bring you down to think of it as the flight deck for sleep. 5.5 hertz. Deep sleep is 4 to 0.5. Absolutely. And like we talked about, we caution people, this is not a sleep aid, but if you have sleep issues and every night is a challenge and you start to get anxious, here's the interesting about sleep, and it's, as we all know, it's an immature science. Most of the phenomenon is in your head. It's all psychological. So you say, hey, I have a really busy meeting tomorrow morning. I need to be alert. I need to go to sleep. You say, I wonder if I'm going to sleep tonight. And then you start the stress response, and then you interrupt the melatonin response. And guess what? You've created a sleep problem. So by all means, this will eliminate stress. It'll prepare you for deep sleep. And your brain will say, thank you. I'm sick of the noise you provide every night. And it's nice to have a relief. So absolutely do that. Just make sure you've done all of your grooming and you're not going to stimulate your brain. Don't wait. If you're not sleeping, don't turn on light or TV or look at your phone. That's the wrong thing to do.
Steve Reese says, I use Rescue 120 when I go to sleep and have the sound piped into my dream pad pillow. Works like a champ.
Nice. You are a champ, Steve. Thanks for sharing that. Not surprised that you've hacked NuCalm that way. Good for you.
I want a dream pad pillow. Sounds great. Well, I think those are all the questions I have in the chat right now. If you have any last questions, please feel free to post it in here. I just want to let everyone know that we will be sending out the recording. And if you are interested in signing up, we'll send a feedback form and we'll get you in touch with Alan Mulligar, who's on the call. I'm going to post his email in the chat right now. This is if you're interested in Mastermind and you're not currently a legacy user, email Alan. And if you are a current legacy user, email support. So I can't multitask and send both of these at the same time, but I will send that in 1 second.
Yeah, let me take one moment to introduce Alan. It's a good story. So we met Alan at a Tony Robbins event in Florida, December 2019. And he didn't go there to learn about NuCalm. He went to learn about himself and work with Tony's program, of course. And he had self-reported sleep issues. And I was there with Monica, Erica, myself. And like anybody else, he tried it once, like, wow, that was amazing. Let's see how I do. Came back the next day, 3 days in a row. And at a Tony Robbins event, it's shooting fish for us because they're exhausted. They're not in control of their destiny. They're not sleeping right. They're freezing. They're not eating and staying hydrated. So for them to get knocked out and zapped by NuCalm, it's like, whatever. We could probably do placebo on that and it would work. So and then he bought, and then he told Monica that I'm going to work for you guys. And I'm thinking, who's this punk, this millennial? We don't hire very often at all. And we just we work hard and we didn't need help at the time. And it's probably 2 months later, lo and behold, he's working for us, and now he's running our sales function. So he's a great kid, solved a personal problem, and he delivers. He did exactly what he says he's going to do, even though I thought, no idea why you could hire him, what he would do for us. So appreciate the deal very much. Enjoy Alan. He's a great guy. Jane Harper, careful of melatonin, premenopausal women mess with fertility. So it's something interesting about NuCalm that's really fun for us and really important. It can literally do no harm. All we're doing with NuCalm is mimicking the body's natural process, your whole biological function for winding down and preparing for sleep. Literally saying, hey, it's okay for me to be vulnerable and unaware of my environment so I can rest and recharge. And our original testing with Dr. C.K. Peng at Harvard Medical School was with 13,000 premenopausal and menopausal women, because those subjects struggle with hormone imbalance and sleep issues. So we're very familiar with that community. We're very familiar with their struggles. And NuCalm is not a magic bullet, but it certainly helps. It'll give you more rest. We don't change your sleep habits overnight. We don't improve your dreaming overnight. but you're going to get more quality, a better yield from your sleep when you use NuCalm. It's that simple. All right, everybody. Great. That was a fun daylight conversation. Appreciate everyone joining. We're really proud of this program. We're really excited about what we do with Newcomb. Of course, you can probably tell just from what we do, how we do it, and those who've known us a long time. We're not going anywhere, and we really want your help. It's really that simple. We don't want to do it without you. That's the bottom line. And if you're interested in helping, come work with us, and let's make this an easier world to live in. That's our objective.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, David. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Alan.